Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskaram. Welcome to the first lecture of the course titled The History, Evolution and Development of Kuchipudi Natyam. The first lecture will be on what is Kuchipudi and its etymology. Well, art is an innate expression of mankind. From the time we are born, every human has an urge to express themselves. We always want to express what we are feeling inside, rather than looking out for the varied options. What differentiates humans from the animals, birds, trees, or the other living things on this planet? We all have the same hunger, thirst, rest, sexual pleasure, and everything that makes us living. But probably the only difference that we have from the other living species is the variations in the ways that we express ourselves. We always want a medium to express what we are feeling inside, our emotions, our feelings, the chaos, happiness, love, sorrow, etc. Now, when you see, art comes actually in this picture, be it painting, sculpture, poetry, music, dance, theatre, storytelling, whatever you name it, all these are forms of art. You are in love with someone, you write a poetry. You want to express the beauty of the nature, you do a painting. You are extremely joyful, you move your hands and legs and your entire body. That is where we see anthropologically the evolution of dance in the human society. But mythologically, when we see, we talk about an encyclopedic work called as Natya Shastra that is ascribed to Bharata Muni. Now, in the first chapter of Natya Shastra, which is called as Natyotpatti, the mythological story says that Indra, who is the head of all the gods and the head of the Swargaloka, has approached Brahma for a reason that during the change of the Yuga, there is a lot of chaos on the planet and especially to the mankind. So he wanted something that would keep the humans walk in the right path, make them know what is good and what is bad. And that is how Natya, or the concept of drama, which is a combination of music, dance and theatre, has come into picture. Now you see, when you see the anthropological origins or the mythological origins, it is to express our emotions and to keep us walking in the right path. Now, when you go watch a cinema, there is a message in every movie. This is good, this is bad, this is not what you should do, and this is, yes, it is what you should do. Earlier, when cinema was not yet a part of our life, when cinema was not invented, how did people get entertained and how did people know what is good and what is bad? Well, all humans will not have the ability to read scriptures and understand the deepest of the philosophies. Drama was the only medium in the society to teach people what is good and what is bad through a beautiful medium of storytelling. All the students who are watching this, tell me, when you were in your 8th standard, 9th standard, or probably in your 10th standard, what was the third lesson in your social studies? We wouldn't remember. But in 10th standard, what is the movie that you watched? And how many songs you know by heart? And what was the name of the hero's character? Yes, we know it. That is the power of storytelling. When you tell people through a story, people will remember it more well than by reading books or understanding the scriptures. Now that is where the greatness of the performing arts comes into picture, because whatever we say it to storytelling. All right. And what is the difference between performing arts and the other art forms like fine arts or literary arts, etc.? Well, for the other art forms, you need a third medium or an external medium to express your feelings and emotions. Let's say you want to paint something, you need a canvas, a brush, some colors. You need to write a poetry, you need a pen, a paper. But for performing arts, we don't need an external medium. Our body is the very own medium through which we express our feelings and emotions and also tell the stories to the audience. No matter the audience are a king or a minister or a merchant or a sculptor or a person who is just selling vegetables. For us, all are equal. For us, the entire audience stand as a single commodity. We have to express the story in such a way that the king also understands and the farmer also understands. And more so, that is the power of dance. There is music, there is storytelling, and the characters come to life in front of you. Kuchipudi is one such dance form or a dance drama tradition that belongs to the south of India, which has almost 500 years of documented history. Well, dance movements are very natural, as I said before, and dances in India are divided into tribal, folk, ritual, traditional, and classical. What are tribal dances? Tribal dances are those dances which are done by the people or the communities who live in the forests, who are called as tribes. Now, they do not follow particular text to describe or structure their movements. What is naturally available to them, like the animal skin or the bird's feathers or the wooden sticks, all these things they make use of for making their costumes, and the movements are very natural to them. They imitate animals, they imitate birds, they showcase trees, flowers, and seasons. When it comes to folk, you see the folk dances in the village communities. They also do not follow or restrict themselves to particular texts. Their dances are surrounded by the agricultural profession that they all are belonging to. There are certain seasons where you harvest. There are certain seasons where you sow the seeds. There are certain seasons where you describe the mother nature for the rains that it showers. So all the folk dances are surrounded by the agricultural benefits that they all have as mother nature. And then you have ritual dances. These ritual dances you majorly see in and around the temples, because right from around 3rd century CE, we see the evolution of temples starting from the south of India. We started to give God a shape, a gender, a form, and certain stories related to the greatest of the greatest energies and powers that are related to the universe. And dance, music, both of them were a part of an offering as a puja to the god. So these were like a certain rituals in the temples which were done inside and outside the temples, which were ritual dances. And then we have traditional dances. What are traditional dances? There are certain dance forms which have passed on from one generation to the other over many centuries. And these traditional dances, some of the traditional dances rather, have molded themselves to become classical in nature. So what is basically the term called classical dance? Because Kuchipudi, that we would be learning the history about in this length of this course, is one of the 8 classical dance forms of our country. So what does this classical actually mean? So classical dances are those dance forms which strictly adhere to the Samskrita treatises or texts, which are called as Shastras. Shastra in English can be understood as a science. So let's say the text Natya Shastra. If you translate that into English, it is called as the science of dramaturgy. Natya is drama. Natya is not dance. Natya is drama. And what is drama? Drama is a combination of dance, music and theatre. Alright? So, the dance forms that strictly adhere to the tenets and the rules and the regulations that are prescribed in the Samskrita texts and treatises are called as classical. Alright? And there we come to the understanding of Marga and Deshi. Many people have a very wrong opinion that classical dance forms are all Marga and folk dance forms are all Deshi. No. Any dance form that has a regional flavor attached to it is Deshi. All the folk and the classical dance forms are all Deshi. Then what is Marga? Marga is the dance form which is very secular in nature, which doesn't attach itself to any regional flavor or any regional customs and traditions, but it only strictly talks about the rules and regulations that are prescribed in the Shastras that are showcased to the human body. So Natya Shastra is the Marga, the Karanas are the Marga, and the folk and the classical dance forms which project the regional flavors are all Deshi. Now these classical dance forms or the folk dance forms, they're all part of a structured society. You cannot randomly do anything whenever you like. There is a structure in the society that needs to be followed, and there comes the cultures, the customs and the traditions through these art forms. One thing that is very important that all of us have to understand, that art is dynamic. There is a quotation, if all of you know, if there is one thing which is permanent in this entire world, is change. Change is the only thing that is permanent. And art is also not an exception to that. Art keeps changing. Why? Because art has to suit the needs of the then society to which it belongs to. It has to satisfy the needs and the tastes of its audience. So art is always dynamic. Even though it follows a structured pattern of the Shastra, the rules and the regulations that are laid in the Shastra, but still it has to be dynamic in molding itself to fit to a society that it belongs to. It has to be the voice of the society. It has to change itself for the people of the society to understand it more. So art is always dynamic. Innovations in dance and development in dance forms are not at all wrong. You have to change yourself. Always keep updating yourselves to move forward and be alive. And that is what dance forms also do. The dance forms reflect the local culture and the traditions that it is born into. Why do Mohiniyattam dancers wear a certain costume? Why do Bharatanatyam people wear a certain costume? Why do all the South Indians eat rice? Why do all the North Indians eat wheat? Well, it's a very, very fundamental thing that all the dance forms or the music forms or the theatre forms, or let's say food, which is very common to all of us as humans, is dependent upon what is locally available to us. Rice is available in south of India, so all of us eat rice. Wheat is available in north of India, so all of them eat wheat. Similarly, there are many things which are locally available to us that are reflected in our dance movements, our dance costumes, our dance jewelry, the stories that we depict. So any Deshi dance form that you take depicts the local culture and traditions and is more of like the face of the society. Coming to the next concept, according to Sri Nataraja Ramakrishna Garu, a great scholar of dance from south of India, both Kuchipudi, Perini and Andhra Natyam and the temple dances of Andhra, he said that dance is divided into 5 types. Aradhana Shaili, which is inside the temples, which I was talking about as rituals. Kacheri Shaili, which it is in the king's courts. Prachara Shaili, where they perform the performances in the streets or the village junctions and outside the temples. Janapada Shaili, which is folk, and Atavika Shaili, which is the tribal. And to this Prachara Shaili, where the dances or the dance drama traditions are very closer to the audience. Now, when you do something in the king's court or inside the temple, everyone will not have the access to watch the performance. Right? But when you do it in the streets, in the village junctions, and outside the temple as a pure public performance, each and every person will have access to watch it. It is a sort of propagating our culture and traditions. It is called as Prachara Shaili. There are many dance drama traditions that belong to the Prachara Shaili, like the Bhagavatams, for example, the Kuchipudi Bhagavatam, Yakshaganam, Kathakali, Terukuttu, Pagativesham, Vidhinatakam, Otantullal, Kuravanji, etc. There are so many dance drama traditions that belong to the Prachara Shaili which have propagated the dance and the dance drama culture in the entire length and breadth of the country. Even in the north, the northeast, the west and the east, we have so many other dance drama traditions. But one common thing about this Prachara Shaili is because these are performed in the streets and the village junctions and outside the temple, and usually these Prachara Shaili dance drama traditions always require people to travel from one place to the other to perform their stories. That is why until probably the first quarter of the 20th century, you don't see women doing Prachara Shaili. Only men used to perform the Prachara Shaili, and that too men from certain communities used to do Prachara Shaili. Now, why women were not a part of it? Well, we'll see that in the upcoming lessons. Now, Kuchipudi Bhagavatam is a part of the Prachara Shaili dance that we would be talking about henceforth in all the lessons that would come. Now, Kuchipudi Bhagavatam existed, or rather I should say coexisted, along with so many other Bhagavatams in the Andhra region. And why is it called Bhagavatam? Because the stories that are presented or performed by these actors or dancers, they are from the Bhagavata Purana. That is the reason the theme was called as, or rather the performance was called as Kuchipudi Bhagavatam. The theme was called as Kuchipudi Bhagavata Melam. Melam means a troupe. Alright. And the actors or the dancers who were performing this were called Bhagavatulu. Alright. So the lu suffix in Telugu means plural. Anytime for a word you add lu, it becomes a plural, right? So Kuchipudi Bhagavatulu, Kuchipudi Bhagavata Melam and Kuchipudi Bhagavatam. Alright? And along with Kuchipudi Bhagavatam, there were other Bhagavatams that were coexisting. What are there? The Yerragolla Bhagavatam, which was performed by the cowherd community, the Chindu Bhagavatam, which was performed by the tanners, Jangam Bhagavatam, which was performed by the bards and the minstrels. Turpu Bhagavatam by the northeast coastal Andhra actors. Dasari Bhagavatam by the nomadic artisans. Yanadi Bhagavatam by the fishing and the hunting community. Devadasi Bhagavatam by the temple dancers, which were called as Sani or Bhogamvaru, which were attached to the temples and the king's royal court. Chenchu Bhagavatam, the hunter tribes, and of course the Kuchipudi Bhagavatam. Alright? And Kuchipudi Bhagavatam basically because they belong to a small village, or rather a hamlet, near the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh. Now let us come to the discussion where why it is called as Kuchipudi. Well, on a very serious note, Kuchipudi is the name of a geographical place on the map. When you see the entire length and breadth of India, all the dance forms or the dance drama traditions, there is no dance form that is named exclusively with the geographical location that it belongs to. Probably the geographical location is a part of the entire name. But the Kuchipudi dance form is exclusively recognized by a geographical location from where it is evolved. We'll know what is Kuchipudi, what is the meaning of the name of Kuchipudi, etc. Now this Kuchipudi Bhagavatam, which just belonged to a small hamlet in the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, which coexisted with so many other Bhagavatams and other dance drama traditions, has exclusively risen itself to being one of the 8 classical dance forms of India. Isn't that so inspiring and interesting to know? And what are the other classical dance forms along with Kuchipudi? Bharatanatyam, Mohiniyattam, Kathakali, Odissi, Manipuri, Satriya and Kathak. These are the 7 other classical dance forms along with Kuchipudi, which make it 8. These classical dance forms are recognized as classical, quote unquote, by the Central Sangeeta Natak Academy, which is a part of the Ministry of Culture of Government of India. Now, what are the strengths of the Kuchipudi dance before getting into it? The adaptability and the flexibility. We'll know more about the adaptability and the flexibility strengths of Kuchipudi in probably the coming lessons where innovations and developments are spoken about. The history and the innovations are always interesting because, see, when you observe, it coexisted with so many other dance drama traditions, dance forms. But as the time went on, all the other dance drama traditions declined. Very unfortunate, with due respects to all the dance drama traditions that ever existed. But it always traveled forward, marched forward, was always trying to keep itself alive with the changing needs of the society, and went on to become a classical dance form from a small village to the entire world. It's very interesting, very inspiring, and the innovations are superb. I don't have words to say. We learn all that in this course, of course, and it belongs to the Natya Mela tradition. What is Natya Mela tradition? Yes, we'll see that in the next section also. Natya Mela and Natuva Mela, the 2 genres of dance traditions that we have. We'll see that in the next lecture also. Kuchipudi belongs to both traditional and classical genres of Indian classical dance because it's been passing over from one generation to the other through so many centuries, and it is also recognized as a classical dance form because it strictly adheres to the tenets of the Natya Shastra of Bharata Muni, and there is no iota of doubt that it doesn't follow any Shastra. The jati patterns, the costumes, the hairdo, the stories, the presentational styles, the body techniques, everything is according to the tenets of the Natya Shastra. There is no doubt about it. Alright, so it's both a traditional and a classical dance form. And there are many legends relating to the etymology of the Kuchipudi. You can say it Kuchipudi or Kuchipudi. Alright. What are the different legends that are attached to the etymology of Kuchipudi? Well, we'll see it now. Shri Bokka Kumaraswamy Garu, a great scholar, says that this village, which is near the Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh, was earlier called as Kuchannapudi. And who is Kuchanna? There was a great man called as Bhagavatula Kuchanna, who was like a temple priest for the Bala Tripura Sundari and Ramalingeshwara Swami temple, which is located in the Kuchipudi village. Now there is a very lot of importance that is given to this temple that we'll see when we see the second lecture, when we talk about the village and the Agraharam of Kuchipudi. All right. So with respect to Bhagavatula Kuchanna, who was the first person who has come and was the temple priest voluntarily to the Ramalingeshwara Swami temple and developed this temple and a sort of got this spiritual and divine entity to this entire place of what is now called as Kuchipudi. It was termed as Kuchannapudi, which gradually over a period of time became Kuchipudi. Another legend is told by Shri Banda Kanakalingeshwar Rao Garu, another great scholar who played a very prominent role in the development and the propagation of Kuchipudi dance. So in this lecture, when we discuss about the famous personalities of Kuchipudi dance, we'll also talk about Shri Banda Kanakalingeshwar Rao Garu. Now what did he say is because this particular place had people or dancers or actors who were nomadic in nature, which means who were traveling from one place to the other, singing and dancing the stories of gods. The Samskrita term to these actors is Kushilavas. Basically, Kushilavas means people who are always traveling, the actors who are always traveling, the young boys who are always traveling, singing the stories of God. So because this place had a lot of Kushilavas in them, it was called as Kushilavapuri, which eventually became Kuchipudi. So these Kushilava community people in Andhra, Kushilava is a Samskrita term, as I said. But in Andhra, these Kushilavas are called as Kuchigallu. So from Kuchigallu, it became Kuchipudi, is what is the understanding of Shri Banda Kanakalingeshwar Rao Garu. And then the Kuchipudi traditional families believe that this place was where Kuchela stayed for a longer period of time. Kuchela, who was the childhood friend of Krishna, all of us have known a few stories about Kuchela from the Bhagavata Purana. So this place where Kuchela lived for a long time, which was gifted by Krishna after he met him, after Krishna became a king, because Kuchela lived here, it was called as Kuchelapuri, which eventually became Kuchipudi. Alright. There is another oral stories that pass on which say Kuchi means Vaddanam or the waist belt and Pundi means the anklets or the bells that the dancers wear. So Kuchi plus Pundi became Kuchipudi. Now this is an oral story. There is no scholarly attachment to this. Now, these are the legends that are related to the etymology of Kuchipudi. All right. We don't have any historical evidence or documentation regarding what is right, what is wrong. Well, the debate is always on in the scholarly field. But yes, from an academic point of view, these are the legends that are related to it. And is there only one Kuchipudi in Andhra region? No. There are 3 more other Kuchipudis in the Andhra region. One near Tenali in the Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh and one near Podili in the Nellore district and one near Kodada in the Nalgonda district. So apart from the Krishna district of Kuchipudi, we have another 3 more recognized Kuchipudis. Alright. And the Kuchipudi that we would be talking about in this course, as I said before, is in the Krishna district and it's around 32 miles from the center called as Vijayawada, which is extremely famous. And if you have to reach Kuchipudi, Then you have to probably get down at Vijayawada by flight or train or buses. And then from Vijayawada, you have to go to Kuchipudi by either a bus or a cab or your, or your own transportation through roadways. All right. So that is the easiest way that you can get to the village of Kuchipudi in the Krishna district. But in Telugu, in terms of etymology is concerned, even though there are a lot of legends that are attached to how it became eventually Kuchipudi, the actual meaning of Kuchi means small. All right. So we say even to small children, Kuchi. Kuchi means small. And Pudi means village. And this Pudi usually comes to many places as a suffix in the Andhra region. We'll see that when we see the lecture 2 in the village of Kuchipudi, when we talk about the history of the, the entire Agraharam of the village, how was it given, what is this Pudi all about, why is that Pudi seen in as suffix to so many other places, we'll talk about that also. So as of now, Pudi means village, Kuchi means small, and yes, these are the legends that are attached to it, and that is the geographical location, and that is how you can reach Kuchipudi and meet the traditional families, have a darshan of the Ramalingeshwara Swami temple, where Bala Tripura Sundari, the deity and the goddess of Kuchipudi village, is also there. In all the prayers of Kuchipudi dance, we have Bala Tripura Sundari's name remembered for the very first time, and then we perform dance. So remembering Bala Tripura Sundari Ammavaru and Ramalingeshwara Swami, I close this lecture, and we'll soon meet in the lecture 2, where we'll talk about the history of the Agraharam of the Kuchipudi village. Namaskaram. Thank you.